What's up, guys? Beyond, I'm back with another video, and today we have got the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series Texas race review, and Kyle Larson, for the 8th time this season, puts the 5 car in victory lane, and he's going to do what Kevin Harvick, what he didn't do last year, and being the guy with the most wins on the season, and he will be going to the championship for. Holy crap. This race had some chaos, and it's going to be interesting to see how Kansas and Martinsville will play out for a couple of these drivers in particular. But with all of that being said, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate that. Make sure to use code ANJJ for free shipping on orders of $20 or more at Circle V Diecast. And also make sure to use the link down below at Steel Vendors Random Fantasy Picks. If you have Twitter, of course, because it has to be linked with Twitter, to make your picks. Helps me out in the influencer standings, whatever. Also, gonna throw this out there. If you go back and watch the playoff predictions video I made, I had Larson picked to win both the Roval and to win at Texas. I had him winning in the last race of the second round, and I had him winning to kick off the round of 8 to advance to the championship 4. I got him right both times. You'll love to see it. So, with that said, let's go ahead and get into the race. Chase Elliott, Chase Briscoe, Cody Ware, David Starr, Corey LaJoie, and Garrett Smithley all would have to start at the back after failing inspection twice. Justin Haley would join them for unapproved adjustments. Alex Bowman would join them as well for unapproved adjustments. Harvick looked like he had some early issues. Larson looked like he had a possible radio issue. We got a competition caution at lap 25. And then Kyle Busch got a speeding penalty during said, pit stops. Busch took 2 tires, said that he was behind LaJoie, who almost stopped, so he gassed it, and he knew he was over the limit. He ended up coming back down and topping off on fuel and taking the other 2 tires, so we have all 4 fresh tires. After the restart, we get through turns 1 and 2, and we get a big wreck on the backstretch. Bubba Wallace just gets loose off of turn 2. He starts to spin, and the wreck basically starts from there, turning the backstretch into a freaking junkyard. Wallace, Priest, Bowman, Bilicki, Chastain, Alfredo, Haley, Stenhouse Jr., Newman, Almirola, Custer, Kyle Busch barely, Gase, and Ware all involved in this wreck. And afterward, Bubba Wallace, he was hard on himself for it. It was a mistake. Shit happens. But he was hard on himself for it because it shouldn't have happened. And again, like I said, it is what it is. Things happen. Priest, Haley, Ware, and Gase would all be done for the day. NASCAR had to have Almirola pit so that they could change the transponder at his car. Stenhouse Jr. and Newman's days would both come to an end. And then Bowman and Wallace would both take their cars to the garage, and their days would be done. McDowell and Briscoe were also listed as being part of that accident with barely any damage whatsoever, if not none. I think it's just being within the vicinity of it. McDowell was towards the front of it. Maybe he almost got hit by Wallace or somebody like that. And then Briscoe was on the bottom. He avoided it. And Kyle Busch had a little bit of left rear damage from it. And that wreck ended up being the largest single incident at Texas in the track's history for the Cup Series and whatnot, or in general, I think, with 15 cars. And keep in mind, this is a 39 car field in this race, so yeah, that's a lot. The previous record was 13 on lap 1 of the race back in 1997. So several drivers would top off with fuel here. They would have to be single file on the bottom of the restart for entering closed pit road. McDowell and Half would both have to serve a passenger penalty for not restarting in the lower lane at penalty cars, because you have to start at the tail end of the longest line if you pit while pit road is closed. Little while later, Half would end up pitting, believing he had a tire going down, and then would go to the garage with mechanical issues. His day would end up being done. LaJoie to pit road at one point. Timmy Hill to pit road at one point. Keselowski had to save a shit ton of fuel towards the end. Larson and others ended up pitting with about 7 to go and later. And Kyle Busch would end up taking the stage 1 victory. Blaney second, Larson third, Kurt Busch fourth, William Byron fifth, Chase Briscoe sixth, Denny Hamlin seventh, Chase Elliott eighth, Tyler Reddick ninth, and Brad Keselowski in 10th. Big save for Kurt Busch early in stage 2. Blaney almost wrecks off turn 4, but he doesn't. Elliott ends up reporting that he has a vibration. He pits a little bit later. This was later in the stage. He would end up being told it was a right front issue. And we get a caution for debris, which was not good, not just for Elliott, but also for Joey Logano, who would pit, I think, starting green flag stops, but regardless. Elliott, towards the end of the stage, thought he might have another right front tire issue, and Kyle Larson would end up taking stage 2. William Byron second, Ryan Blaney third, Kevin Harvick fourth, Brad Keselowski fifth, Kurt Busch sixth, Denny Hamlin seventh, Chase Briscoe eighth, Tyler Reddick ninth, and Kyle Busch in 10th. And Daniel Suarez would get a speeding penalty. So we get going with stage 3. Kurt Busch has a big-ass save and then has to pit. He ended up having a loose wheel. Byron and Larson would both later report vibrations. And then Christopher Bell would pit to possibly begin green flag pit stops. Briscoe would touch the wall. And then about a lap or so later, he ended up bringing out the caution with the tire going down on the right rear and him being still on the backstretch. So we get going again, and a little bit later we get another caution, this time for fluid on the racetrack. Joey Logano's engine expires. He takes the car to the garage. His day is done, and he is fucked for the next 2 races at Kansas and Martinsville. If he wants to make it to the Final 4, he has to win. He has no other choice at this point. This is actually Logano's first engine failure since Pocono, the first Pocono race back in 2014. So over 7 years. So we get the restart. Going to turns 1 and 2. Chris Buescher has to have a big save on the apron after getting turned by Kyle Busch in 1 and 2. And then the caution comes out for Anthony Alfredo wrecking behind them. With it looking like the Alfredo got into McDowell and then wrecked. And then once his car comes to a stop, engulfs in flames. Well, not the entire car, but underneath it. You get my point. So they had to throw out the red flag to get all of that dealt with, and they did. So then we get the restart again, and Hamlin basically moves Keselowski out of the way. About, by the end of that lap, following the restart or the next lap, Hamlin gets contact from Blaney. Hamlin ends up getting smoke coming out from his right rear with a tire rub, and his left rear tire ends up going down, and he would spin on the backstretch, bringing out another caution. He would pit, and his right front would actually also be down as well. He ended up pitting while pit road was closed, so that means that he would have to start at the tail of the field. And so we get another restart, and a couple laps later, Martin Truex Jr. with a little bit of contact from Daniel Suarez. It's hard to tell if it was contact or if it was just air, but regardless, Truex Jr. slams the wall hard in turn 4, and the caution would come out once again. He drives it right through the grass, brings it to pit road, and then his day would end up being done. Basically, it either, again, like I said, either Suarez took enough air off the car to get it loose, or it looked like he had a little bit of contact with Suarez. It's really hard to tell. And then Truex Jr. just absolutely overcorrected it, pancaked the wall with the passenger side. Yeah. So we get the restart again, and Reddick gets loose off a tap from Harvick off of turn 2, going to the backstretch, but Reddick saves it, basically just slides up in front of Keselowski after he saves it, and Harvick ends up falling back. Reddick makes contact with Byron. Byron gets a tire rub. Reddick drops back a little bit. Keep in mind, these two had an encounter late in last week's race at the Roval, which basically costed Byron a potential shot to beat out his teammate Larson to win, and also for Byron to advance to the next round if he won, because he would have to win in order for him to advance. And then we get a caution for Chris Buescher and Denny Hamlin. Briscoe gets in the wall off turn 2. It looks like Buescher also got loose off of 2. Might have made a little bit of contact with the wall. And then Briscoe makes contact with him. Or Buescher makes contact with Briscoe, 1 for 2. And Hamlin ends up running into Buescher as Buescher spins. So, like I said, caution would come out again. Truex Jr. in his interviews after getting out of the infield care center, I guess said that he might have cracked the windshield in his wreck. I didn't catch that, but I saw somebody mention that, so I figured I'll throw that in there. And so basically it came down to green, white, checker finish. Ended up being the last restart. Kyle Larson gets a hell of a push from Brad Keselowski, and he is out in front. And there you go. Kyle Larson takes the win at Las Vegas, or at Texas, excuse me. And now all he has to worry about is, or his team that is getting ready for Phoenix. And for Larson, all he has to really do is just run his race, maybe win if he wants to, and set himself up for Phoenix in a couple of weeks. For the other 7 drivers, you still got 2 more races to get 3 spots. And for Joey Logano, yeah, you're pretty much in a must-win situation. He's over 40 points below the cut line. Yeah, it's him having his engine go. And that's the thing. For both Truex Jr. and Logano, neither of them got stage points today. So both of them getting knocked out of this race late is a massive deal because it puts them in that much of a hole. And I gotta say though, like Keselowski, basically rebounding from having to save so much fuel early on to ending up finishing in the top 5. That helps him a lot. I think he's still behind on points, but it's still an improvement, to finish where he did. And yeah, so it's gonna come down to the wire these next couple races, but like I said, Kyle Larson, he's got nothing to worry about. He's just got to worry about going into Phoenix with a car that can potentially win him his first NASCAR Cup Series championship. What else is there to say, honestly? What else is there to say on that? So, with all that being said, like I said at the beginning, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. Make sure to use code ANJJ for free shipping on orders of $20 or more at Circuit Diecast, and make sure to use the link down below in the description to see vendors' random fantasy picks if you have Twitter to make your picks for next week. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.